Week 2 of trying out different churches as a former atheist, and today we are trying out a non-denominational church. Really excited to just see how big of a presence of the Holy Spirit I'm feeling at this church. Like, I was not expecting the Baptist church last week to affect me in the way that it did. So we're gonna head out now and I'll let you know how it goes. We're back and I have a lot to say. That church checked every single one of my boxes. If you go back to the beginning of this series and I was explaining what I'm looking for in a church, this church had it all. Huge youth presence. There were separate rooms for all the different ages, and they taught straight from the Bible, didn't alter anything. Gorgeous, gorgeous church, outside and inside. They had all of the lights and the bells and the whistles, amazing voices, amazing instruments, the big screen TVs with the lyrics. Some things that I wrote down during the service: this would be great for my husband. It was more of a younger crowd. I could see him just meshing right in with all of them. I feel like that I could learn a lot from this church. It was very studious, like we're opening our Bibles, we're going line by line, all the things that I thought I wanted. I feel like this church is like the church to be. It had everything you could want, but I didn't feel anything. And I can't believe I'm saying this, because if you go back to the beginning of this series, I was so set in what I wanted. And a lot of these things were logistic things, right? The size of the youth group, the way that they preach, what Bible translation. And ever since I had that Baptist church experience last week, I feel like now I'm in search of a more spiritual experience, more so than a biblical studious experience. While the Baptist experience that we had last week was a little intense, right? With the hooting and the hollering and the screaming, I felt the Holy Spirit. Maybe that was just like a result of the environment, right? When you hear people up and screaming and yelling, you're bound to feel something, right? But comparing today's experience to that experience, today's experience was very much like what I'm used to, almost like that big church feeling, right? The lights and the screens, and everybody was so wonderful and nice, and I can totally see why this is the church that everybody recommends. But I don't think it fed me spiritually in the way that I feel like I need to be fed after visiting that Baptist church last week. Even crazier, my 8-year-old leaned over to me halfway through this service and she said, "This is not the one." And I said, "Shh, like, we'll talk in the car," right? Because I didn't want anybody to hear that. And when we got in the car, before I even told her how I was feeling, mind you, my 8-year-old is the one who led me to Christ in the first place, which is just so crazy. And she doesn't understand denominations, right? She's 8. She said, "I feel like the church last week, they were real believers." And that like pierced my heart, because I did have to explain to her, "Honey, everybody worships differently. And just because you're loud and crazy, that doesn't mean you believe more than somebody who's quietly worshiping." Like, I don't want her to get that vibe, but it's clear that she must have been feeling the same thing that I was feeling, right? We were very moved. We were very engulfed in the sermon and what was happening last week in that Baptist church. Whereas today, the music was amazing. We were singing along. It was all the songs you hear on the radio. But I feel like at this point, I'm exploring and looking for something deeper. So for her, for my 8-year-old to get that same feeling, I feel like that's God speaking to us right there. I do still have some other churches that I want to explore, one being a Pentecostal church, which I have heard might be similar to the Baptist experience that we had last week. We also have a Catholic church that we're going to be trying. I'm open to that as well. Like, I am definitely seeking the truth here. And I feel like I'm at the point in my faith journey where I really do need to be fed spiritually. And maybe what I thought I was looking for before isn't really what I'm needing. Throwing this in real quick because I totally forgot to add it. I know everybody's wondering. They did not bring up money once. They did not announce it. They didn't pass a basket around. They didn't talk about an app or giving or anything like that. Remember, I told you that would turn me off immediately. Very, very thankful that they did not do that. I'm assuming maybe they just like send envelopes home, or maybe there's something in the back for you to give, but it wasn't like they had to make it into this big thing in the middle of the sermon. So stay tuned, because it's looking like this journey is going to be a lot longer than expected.